Hi, welcome to my tutorial on how we're going to make this extremely cute, extremely practical watercolor sketchbook notebook type product. I'll show you it up close in a second, but if we haven't met before, my name is Rebecca. I run an art studio called Lucky Sprout Studio in Nova Scotia, Canada, and I love making stationery by hand. And I do illustrations that often make their way onto the covers of my stationery or greeting cards or art prints or whatever else I'm working on. But anyways, I'm not going to take up too much time on the introduction. This video is all about this product, which is extremely cute. I am very proud of it. This is the one I just made in the tutorial you're about to see, and I love it so much. It has a cute bow on it, which is optional. You don't have to add a cute bow. You can make it whatever vibe you want. But it is watercolor paper bound together. Is this the best way to show you, just standing here? I'm just going to show you, and then I'll show you footage of a close-up of this product. Okay, cool. I'm undoing the bow. You flip it open, and then there's watercolor paper attached here. You can tear it off or you can leave it, and there's 16 pages because it's quite thick paper. And it's so cute. I can't tie a bow standing back up, so just imagine I retied this. Anyways, this is a very fun project. I make stationery to sell at a market booth and on my online store, but you could make this for fun as well. You could just make it to have. So it's a great project, and it doesn't take too long. It probably took like 30 minutes all in all to make this one, and I was explaining as I went, so it doesn't take very long at all. And you can batch create them very easily because there's drying time in between for the glue, so you have lots of time to watch TV shows while you work or make multiples. Oh, and these are also extremely customizable. Everything I'm going to show you is just like the framework on how to build this. Take it from there and use your creativity, add in different papers, use different kinds of fastenings, whatever you like. It's your project. Do whatever makes you happy. This makes me very happy. I'm thrilled with how this turned out. Okay, let's go into the video. I'm going to start off showing you the materials that you will need for this project. I hope you enjoy it. It was a lot of fun to make. And let's make crafts. Let's start by going over the different materials that we will need to make our watercolor notepad. The first thing we're going to need is some watercolor paper. So I have a block right here. This is bigger than the size I want to make, obviously, because if I wanted it this size, I would just use this pad. So these are just 300 GSM watercolor paper blocks, and it notably also has a heavy cardboard backing, and I'm actually going to reuse this. We're going to cut this in quarters and make 4 small notepads. So I'm going to actually reuse this backing, but you can use any heavy cardboard or cardstock that you can find. For the cover of our book, I'm going to be using some of these patterns that I've designed. Now, I have printed these full size onto the same paper that I use for greeting cards. So this is called 12-point one-sided coated paper. It's also called cover paper. So you probably can't see in the video, but it is glossy on one side and just a regular paper texture on the other. And it's quite sturdy, but it makes for a really good notebook cover, in my opinion. So I have 4 different patterns here that I've designed to pick from. Not sure which one I'm going to use yet today, but that is what I have to work with. In terms of tools, I have my cutting mat, I have a ruler and a pencil, I have a little paintbrush, and this is my Mod Podge. This is what I use for making notepads or notebooks or any sort of little journal in general. I use this for bookbinding. I find it really effective. It doesn't crack. It means you can pull the pages out if you want, which I think is great for a watercolor notebook. And yeah, I really recommend it. So this is what I'm going to be using, and I will link all of these products, if they're like things like this, down in the video description for you in case you want to grab the exact ones I'm using. This is the Mod Podge Satin Water-Based Sealer. I also have my little container that is stuff I use for bookbinding in general. So these are just binder clips from the dollar store in various sizes, and then little scraps of paper, and I use these to clamp the binding together while it's drying so that these little clips don't damage the paper. Normally, I also cut using an X-Acto knife, but recently I have gotten a really cool paper cutter. It's big, so I'm just going to show you. You won't be able to see it properly. But it looks like this, and it is a laser paper cutter, so you can see it. Well, I don't know if you can see. Let me see. You can see the little red dot there. It actually makes a red line. I don't want to put my hand in it. It makes a red line on the paper that shows you where you're going to cut, which is great because I don't find these things precise normally. So now that I have this with the laser, I'm using that to cut my paper, but I'm going to measure it using pencil and ruler first. You can, of course, just use an X-Acto knife with a little mat like this, or some scissors if you don't care about the exact precision of your cuts. And as a little bonus, I'm going to try using some ribbon and my lighter here to add a little tie to the notebook afterwards to be able to close it shut. I don't think this purpley burgundy ribbon is going to look great with all my covers, so maybe I'll try and pick one that looks good with that. And the lighter is just to seal the end of the ribbon once I cut it so it doesn't fray. So this is optional. I'm just going to give it a go because I think it might look cute. The first step is going to be preparing our paper for our notebook. The paper that I'm using, I should measure, is about 8.25 inches by 11.25 inches. That just happens to be this pack I picked up. You can use any watercolor paper you like. You can use an expensive one, you can use a cheaper one. I just realized I don't have my lights on for filming. Let me go turn those on. Okay, that's better. Now you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. So I'm going to cut these sheets into quarters because I would like to have a small pocket-sized watercolor sketchbook. You could do it in half or in whatever other configuration you like. It depends on what kind of book you're trying to make. I'm also going to use 4 sheets per notebook. I'm just going to make one for this video, but for some of these I'll have to cut quarters anyways. So I'm just going to cut these 4 sheets into 4, and that will give me 16 sheets. Because this paper is quite thick, 16 sheets doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually going to be a nice size little notebook. I'm also going to take the backing board off of this notepad so that I can reuse it because it's quite thick and will work really well. I finished trimming up all these papers, so now I have 16 little squares that are all about the same size. And I also went through and erased all the pencil marks on them just so that they are all now clean. And I also cut up the backboard into 4 pieces, which makes 4 different notepads. This is too thick to go in my paper cutter, so I did this by hand with an X-Acto knife and my ruler. I am just going to take one of them and then we are going to stack them together. Now, one thing you want to make sure is that if your watercolor paper has different textures on different sides, as most do, this is a smooth side and this is a grainy side, I'd like to have them all facing the same direction. So I will just fan through and double check that all the little papers are facing the same way. And they are, so that's great. The next step is to clamp these together. So I'm going to grab my little kit and make sure that these are tapped on all sides to get them as even as possible. And you can decide which side you want to glue on. If you're doing a rectangle like I am, then you have a short side and a long side. So you could do a sort of horizontal notepad like that, or you can do a vertical one like this. And I'm going to make a vertical one this time. So I'm going to be gluing along this edge to do our sort of bookbinding gluing. So I will turn it upside down and tap it just to make sure that edge is as level as possible. Okay, looks pretty good. Because this backing board is really stiff, I don't really need to worry about putting like a little buffer piece of cardboard there to protect it, but I will do it on the front just to keep the clamps from making any marks. So I'll use this little piece of cardboard. I'll actually do it on the sides this time because it's a bit wider than my normal notepad. I'm just going to clip it. It's pretty much as wide as that one will go. I might need bigger clips if I do bigger notepads in the future. And I'll add another one on this side. And I'm trying to get these clips as close to the top as possible, but I don't want to overlap the actual edge I'm gluing just so that I don't accidentally glue this cardboard to the notepad. It wouldn't be the end of the world. You could just tear it off, but it might ruin the perfectness of the line. So this is clipped, and now we are ready to brush some paint along this edge. So let me clear my space and we'll do that. All right, I have my Mod Podge and I have my little paintbrush and my notepad. The paintbrush, I reuse the same one all the time because I wash it really quickly after I use this glue. And this is a water-based glue, so it isn't going to necessarily ruin your brushes unless you leave it to dry, in which case it's not worth trying to clean. So if you want to keep reusing your brush, just recommend to wash it right after. If not, you're using disposable brushes or something, that is your choice. Now, the key to doing a book binding or notepad binding using this method is to do a couple thin layers and let them dry in between of this glue. So I'm going to put on a layer, leave this, let it dry, come back and another, and I'm going to do 3 layers total, but I'm just going to show you the first one because it looks the same every time. And then I'll show you the finished product and then we can start measuring for the cover. When you are painting on the glue, you want to really take your time with the first layer because that's the one that's going to penetrate into the pages the deepest, and it's going to help ensure that none of your pages fall out. So I'm just adding a thin layer and really pushing it into the grooves between the paper. When you do this with a normal notepad like printer paper or a different weight, it's not as hard because the pages are really thin and the glue, I don't know, it spreads across them a little bit better. But with thicker paper, I find there's just more pronounced gaps between the pages. So it does take a little bit more time just to get that first layer in and make sure that it's touching all the pages because we don't want any of them falling out. Okay, so that looks great for our first layer. I'm going to leave this here to dry, and these little clips kind of help it stick up from the table so it doesn't touch while it dries. And then it takes about 10 minutes or so, not very long. I'll add 2 more coats and take a break in between, and then this will be done. So I'm going to do that process and come back and show you the finished gluing job. 3 layers down, and we are ready to move on with this project. So I'm just going to remove our clips and show you. Oh, that one's hard to open. Okay, there is our finished notepad, and you can see the top is dry. I'm sorry, you can see the top is dry, and the pages are all connected. And it's kind of hard to show you. They don't fan out the way that other notepad does. But yeah, it's sturdy, it's attached. So this is great. If you weren't making this to sell, you're just making this for yourself, you could just stop here if you really wanted to. It's just convenient. You could travel with these in this format because then they're bound and they're not going to fly away. But let's go ahead and make a cover next. So we'll get rid of these little pieces. And I said before that I wasn't sure which of these covers I was going to use, but I did decide I'm going to use the yellow one. So I trimmed off the outside border. And this yellow one, it may be hard to see, but it's basically a digital pattern that I made that is little wildflowers. And I think it's really cute and pretty. It's kind of got like a Nordic vibe. It's a lot of mountain flowers. I don't know all the names though. But yeah, so we're going to use this. It is blank on this side. And basically what we're going to be doing is laying this down and cutting this like that to get a strip of the cover that will then fold over the back and be attached there so it can flip open. Hope that makes sense. But I'm just going to start by measuring out the size of this in the direction we want. So this is facing up. I'm going to fold it this way. I guess it doesn't really matter at this stage, but I am just going to try and put this right to the edge on the bottom and the corner. And I'm just going to mark it with my pencil again, but how am I going to do this with the ruler? Honestly, I can probably just draw a line like that. There we go. I have done this before, I just didn't think it through that much. And I'm just going to finish off this line. There we go. I'm just going to run this through the paper cutter, chop it like that, and I'll be right back. Okay, here we are. We have this cut, and as you can see, it is a fit for the notepad. I think that's going to look really pretty. So when we are attaching this, you have a few different options. I'm just going to lay it like this so we can see it. There's going to be 2 folds. There's going to be a fold, I'm not marking, I'm just going to indicate one right along here at the base, at the top of the front page of the notebook, and then a second fold like a centimeter up at the back, and we're going to glue it only on the back here. You could also use double-sided tape, which I think might actually be a very convenient method. I have some, but I don't know where it is. So I'm just going to glue it today using the same Mod Podge. And then I'm also going to score these so that they fold nicely. So when someone's using the notepad, they're not pulling on the glue binding when they flip the cover up, it's just flipping back to the back. So the first thing I'm going to do is make some folds. So you could either do this by just doing what I'm doing here, holding this lined up in place and folding the paper back. I'm going to grab my bone folder just because I want to be really precise, but you could do it without that, of course. This is a bone folder if you've never seen one before. Mine is a little bit dirty from glue. It is a piece of bone that is carved into this particular shape. It has tapered edges. The reason that bone is ideal for this, not that I'm a huge fan of using an animal bone, it grosses me out in a big way, but if you did this model or whatever with plastic, there would be a ridge somewhere from the mold. By using animal bone, I guess there's no ridges, so it's really easy to make clean folds with it. It's kind of easier to understand why this is a great tool when you're actually using it. I didn't get one for a long time, but when I had it, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. So it just helps make folding creases in paper a lot easier, and I make a lot of stationery, so it made sense. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to do like a little pencil line right at the top of that. I'm going to fold it with my ruler in the bone folder just to give it a crease, and then I will fold it properly. This is just going to help it crease a little bit better. Okay, so you can't really see, but now there's a crease on that pencil line, which I will erase as best I can. If you're making a lot of these notepads, you can really batch these jobs so it doesn't become as tedious. Doing these one at a time can be a little time consuming, but if you batch the steps, like when you're gluing and such, it's a lot faster. Okay, so that is creased, so I'm just going to fold it on the crease, which is very easy. And I will use this to press down that fold. Okay, so now that tucks in there nicely. And then we're going to do a second one for the back fold. So I'm just standing it up on its edge, getting that nice end lined up. Little pencil line. Also, a little tool that I have is this desk vacuum. It is the best thing I own, especially when you're working with pencils and a little eraser bits. It cleans up the workspace real fast. I love this thing. So then we just fold on this second line. Again, real easy because it was scored. And there we go. Now it is a double flap. And it's going to slide right on perfectly there. I'll be honest, I actually made this top piece a little bit too wide, but I don't really think it looks bad. It's maybe like 1 millimeter too wide. So you could readjust it. I would take it off the back there, but I think it's fine because it's going to flip open like this, and this is what the back will look like. So at this point, this is where you could add your double-sided tape, maybe 2 strips right there, press that down, and you'd be good to go. But for glue, I'm going to do the similar technique of just like brushing on a thin layer, and then I'm going to clamp it using my bookbinding clamps again, just to press it down and leave it for a little bit just till it dries. I'm just going to focus on a thin layer around all the edges in particular, because that's where the strain is going to be the most when you open this little notebook. And it's really hot in here, so this glue is drying fast. So that looks good to me. I'm just going to press that down. I even use my tool here to really press it down. Okay, I had to go get one of my really big clamps. Which will be perfect for this. I just really want to protect the cover from getting squished by the clamp. So now I'm sandwiching the cardboard on both sides, and I'll put the big clamp. So you can use smaller clips, of course. I'm just using this big one because I happen to have a big one. And I definitely recommend getting big clamps if you're doing a lot of projects like this. These are awesome. But the dollar store little bulldog clips work as well too. I like doing things on a budget as well. So I'm going to leave this for maybe 10 minutes just to let the glue set, and then I will add my ribbon. But while it's clamped, we can still talk about the ribbon actually. Now this is obviously a project with a lot of versatility. You can do a lot to customize this. You can add in different kinds of paper, you can add in colored paper, make it different shapes, different sizes. You can do whatever you want with the cover. You can add in little pockets. but there are other things you can add on that I think have a good functional purpose. So my idea of doing the ribbon was just mostly because I thought it would be pretty, but also to kind of hold down the bottom flap of this notepad, because I know from other ones that I use a lot that eventually these creases kind of get tired and the flap of the front keeps coming up. Papers are also going to buckle if you leave them in the notepad and don't tear them out. So having a way to compress it would be nice. I'm opting to use ribbon because I think it would be really pretty. But another option is to use elastic. And I'm not doing that only because the only elastic I have is like sewing elastic. I only have black, and I don't think black is going to be, it's not that bad actually with this color, but it's not the vision I have for today. But what you could do is add the elastic around the same way. Just make sure that it's really well secured, because if it's just glued or taped, it could just pop off. Another option is to do a little loop on the side, which could hold a paintbrush, which I think is a very cute option. And I think that would be very sweet. And I would probably attach that to the inside of the backing. I'm gonna let this dry. I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do with the ribbon. We'll see what happens. All right, I've made my decisions and we are going with the ribbon in a cute little bow. I wanted the style of this notepad to be kind of girly, a little bit feminine and cute. So I like adding a bow to the front that you can undo and then flip the pages open to use. I've measured this by wrapping the ribbon around and just tying it with a bow, making sure it's the right size I wanted. And I was going to seal off the edge of these ribbons. Just like a very quick swipe through melts the fabric so it doesn't fray. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, perfect. So that is done. Now we need to attach this to the back. And I had to think about it. Ew, that ribbon smells really bad when it's burning. And I'm just going to use glue and glue it underneath just the same way we've been doing everything else. And I think I like that for the consistency's sake. I know the glue's gonna hold up. And if I were to tape it or something, it just wouldn't look as nice. And if I put it on the inside of the backing, it would tug on it more frequently when I tied the bow, and it would be more likely to come undone. So I think for stability's sake, it's going to go in the back here. And it's also nice because you could slip other things in here with the notebook. So you could add your brushes or your palette and tie the ribbon a little bit smaller to make like a little bundle. And I can even show you how I do that at the end with one of my little watercolor palettes. In which case you may want to pull it up a little bit if you're going to be securing other things. So I think that height looks pretty good. I think that would secure it there. So I'm going to leave it tied. I'm just going to flip it over. And I'm going to do, I bet you can guess, I'm going to use my pencil. And I'm going to just mark out where I want it to sit. I'm just making 4 little dots. I'm not going to draw full lines. I'm just going to scooch it down a little bit. I'm going to just paint a stripe of glue. Let's draw a line in between them. Right along that line. So I will just take this brush is a really good size for this because it's thinner than the ribbon. And I'm just going to paint along that stripe, showing off my dexterity skills clearly. Wow, I'm actually a good painter. Please don't judge me by how I'm making this glue line. It's a lot more pressure when you're filming yourself doing something. Doesn't need to be a lot of glue. I'm sure that is plenty. And I've been washing my brush in between all of this. So I'm just going to scooch this up to cover that glue line. Press it down gently. And now I will flip it over. This top part is fairly dry already, so I'm just going to remove the clamp so I can lay this perfectly flat. Now I'm just going to grab, I have a pack of heavy printer paper. I'm just going to set that on here and leave it for like 10 minutes, and then I'll come back and show you our final result. Sound good? Okay. All right, well, let's take a look at our final result. I'm very happy with how this turned out. The glue has dried on the back, so let's open it up and just see what that's like. There's the ribbons, and you flip this open, and then you can start painting away. And you can either tear off these pages when you're done with the drawing, or you can flip it to the next one and keep going. I think it is a really brilliant little design. Very happy with it. I will just show you. So this is my little watercolor palette that I use for traveling. I use it at home a lot too, but it's really messy, sorry. It has this little brush that is so cute, like that. So this is like a full little kit. And I think these two products would be really darling together because, as you can see, fits right there. You could just tie it on. Hold on, I'm not good at bows, so bear with me. There. So you could just tie it together, throw it in your bag like this, or I don't know, if you ever wanted to, if you were someone who was selling these little kits, maybe you make your own paints, anything like that. These are just really cute together. I'm sure there's other things that you could attach together with it to make it like a really cute little gift set if you were selling it like that. I don't know. There's a lot of potential here. I'm very happy with it. I hope that you found this tutorial useful. I hope you're inspired to make something super cute. I'm honestly very thrilled about this. And especially the ribbon. That was the part that was new for me making this during this tutorial. So super cute. But like I said, an elastic band would work really well. You could do two if you wanted to definitely hold something bigger. The possibilities are endless. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about any of the steps I did, tools I'm using, anything, I will leave information in the video description, but you can also leave a comment. I'd be happy to answer anything there. And if you like this tutorial, please do consider subscribing to my channel. I make cute stuff like this. I also am doing some studio vlogs, business chats, but lots of art things. Everything's about art. So, okay, I hope this was helpful. Have a really great day. Have fun making something cool. See you later.